ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः हरि ओम् Good to see all of you. In an effort to begin the discourses or lecture series, we are going to start with a basic prakarana-grantha called Atmabodha. I am sure many of you sitting here already must have heard this at least a few times. That this text is an unavoidable text. Tatvabodha, Atmabodha, Bhaja Govindam, Upadeshasara, Sadhana Panchakam. These are like the very beginning texts. And they are called prakarana-grantha. Another common thing through all this is they are all written and composed by Bhagavan Sri Adi Sankaracharya. In the parampara that we all belong to, Adi Shankaracharya ji is the visionary, a stalwart who was way ahead of his time, is considered as the very avatar of Bhagavan Shiva. In his very short tenure of 32 years, that which he has accomplished, that which he has blessed the world with, even a small portion of it, I have seen many conduct their PhD theses and they are considered as experts. Now, imagine the expertise of this one individual in that short lifespan. How much has he given? One of those who has certainly helped revive Hindu Vaidika Sanatana Dharma. Now, if you remove the chapter of Bhagavan Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji from our history, I don't think we would have what we have today, and we would not have the opportunity. Probably we would have been thinking about other civilizations, like they used to exist, they used to persist, but they are now only a part of history. Hinduism or Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma would have also been one of such. His work can be categorized into several categories, prakarana-granthas being one of them. And without reading the length and breadth of this human work, there are many who probably blame him to be Mayavadi. When you look at all the works of Bhagwan Vedavyasa, he has also maintained the same thought pattern which Bhagwan Adi Shankaracharya ji has expounded upon. And this Guru Parampara that we have is an unbroken lineage of at least about 15,000 to 16,000 years. And it gains such a prominence, presence of Adi Shankaracharya ji gains such prominence that when we chant the Guru Parampara, we say Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. The Adi Guru is Bhagwan Shiva himself. Chitram Vattaror Mule Vruddha Sishya Guru Yuva. Started from there. The entire vocabulary is attributed to Bhagwan Shiva. That with his Dhamaru that he very playfully expressed just before his Ananda Tandava, the sound that emerged is what Panini captures as the Maheshwara Sutrani, which becomes the basis for the entire Sanskrit literature. Starting from there, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji is the midpoint of revival. Asmad Acharya Paryantam, Asmad Acharya Paryantam, Puja Gurudev. To him, the Diksha Guru is Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj, and that is how we intrinsically became in the lineage of Adi Shankaracharya ji, Sringeri Math specifically. Then the Siksha Guru is Swami Tapobhiḥ. Like many of us, when we have the name, it is Saraswati is added at the end. So Vanam is one such Dashanami. So his name was Tapo, and his last name to say was Vanam. But under him, our Puja Gurudev learnt it, and many of us sitting here are blessed enough that we have now seen three generations of that very Guru Parampara in our very lifetime, in our very living history. Many of us have seen and basked in the presence of Puja Gurudev, then Puja Swami Tejomananji, and now Swami Swarupananji. So this lineage, this parampara is a very unbroken, continuous parampara. Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Prakarana Grantha, what does that mean? Karana, Karana, that which enables us, supports us. Prakarshena, Prakarshena, in the most elaborate but yet very comprehensive manner, that which enables and supports our understanding of Vedantic Mukhya Grantha, Prathamika Grantha, and that Prathamika Grantha of Vedanta is Upanishad. Upanishad is called Vedanta because it is literally the very end of the classification that comes under the Vedic literature. We have Veda as the body of knowledge. That Vedic knowledge has 4 books in it: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Ayurveda. No. Checking right in the morning if we are awake. Pratasmara. No, Uttishta Uttishta. So it is Atharva Veda or Atharvana Veda. Now, the way this Vedic literature is organized, just like how you go to a website and you're trying to search for something and you're not able to find, down under that website there is something called a site map. When you click that site map, it gives you the entire spread of the heading, subheading, the drop downs, and everything that which is there in one glance. So if you have to look at the Vedic literature in that kind of drishti, the Vedic literature is composed in the pattern that it begins with mantra, then evolves into Brahmana, then Aranyaka, then Upanishad. Mantra is Mananat Trayate iti mantraha, that meditating upon which removes that which is blocking us or limiting us. Trayate removes that. Now, having meditated upon, Brahmana talks about that which gives us the skill set to apply this mantra into our day-to-day life as a practical, pragmatic approach towards life. Brahmana. Brahmana here does not mean, or it is not indicating to the Varna Dharma. Here Brahmana means expertise. Expertise of that which the mantra bhaga is explaining about. There were some who were more eager to find subtler, deeper, comprehensive methods on that mantra, on that Brahmana. So they went into solitude of meditation. And in that solitude of meditation cannot happen through this environment that which we are usually in. Therefore, they left to the forest. The forest is called Aranya, and that which is born of the deep meditative idea is called Aranyaka. So further research and study on the mantra bhaga and the Brahmana bhaga is the Aranyaka. Now further fine-tuning that Aranyaka, whichever field that this mantra bhaga belong to, we have to arrive at the wisdom, the nugget which is crystallized. And that crystallized knowledge is called Veda Anta, the last portion of Vedanta. And they are also known as Upanishad. So the Upanishad becomes the Mukhya Grantha, Prathamika Grantha. But they are very subtle and profound wisdom that is given. In order to understand that profoundness, we need to be introduced to the vocabulary, we have to be introduced to the scheme of logic and various steps to be qualified to grasp that which the Upanishad is indicating. Therefore, there was a necessity for these acharyas to raise the students, the disciples, to that understanding, and they introduced these works which are now today known as the Prakarana-grantha, that which profoundly supports our understanding of Vedantic studies. Why Prakarana-grantha? We just looked into. Of these various Prakarana-granthas, we belonging to the Advaita Vedanta school of thought. Whenever I say this, I feel a little hesitant because whenever you look into Upanishad or the Itihasa or the Purana, the entire Vedantic knowledge has been presented only as this Advaita Tattva only. The others have tried to derivate something other than that. So whenever we here speak that it is Vedanta, it means that it is Advaita Vedanta only. So that we are all on the same page. So Advaita Vedanta. So to introduce that, there are prakarana-granthas, and most of us begin with Tatvabodha, Atmabodha, Sadhana Panchakam, Upadesha Sara, that is written by Ramana Maharshi. Then graduate to the bigger books called Viveka Chudamani, Upadesha Sahasri, and such works. So that our understanding, when we approach in all humility towards the Upanishads, the Upanishadic knowledge becomes clear. There is no confusion into what is being pointed or indicated in that collective knowledge called Upanishad. Now, having studied that Upanishad, there are always various platforms of thoughts that seem to confuse us. Why? Because we are blessed with such intellectuals wherein they say, I had this brilliance, new thought of Vedanta, and they present it. It was true then, it was true, it is true now as well. There are people in the name of Vedanta that they tried redefining the basic vocabulary and create a hodgepodge of Vedanta. And when people read such, there's a lot of scope of ambiguity and lack of clarity. In order to iron that out so that our understanding takes a deep root in ourselves, there are second variety of prakarana-granthas which have to be studied after the Upanishadic study. They are called the Praudha prakarana-grantha. Praudha, not proud. Praudha, it is a Sanskritam word. Praudha means an advanced study, a senior study. And we may have looked into such books which are called the Siddhi Granthas, Naishkarmya Siddhi, Advaita Siddhi, Ishta Siddhi, and they take into logical deliberations wherein they use various methods and means to substantiate the understanding of this Advaitic principle, that it does not have room for any scope for it to be shaken from within. coming back to this particular book that which we are going to look at, composed by Bhagavan Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, one thing has to be mentioned. When you look at his life and what he has achieved, he has walked through the entire Bharatavarsha several times. He has done Shastrartha with those who challenged the Advaita Vedantic way of thought. Now one has to understand the Shastrartha, because we as Hindus have become very timid, wherein we say that, hey, I think we call this as a sophistication of our intellectual or intellectualization, wherein they say if we don't come to the same agreement, they say, let us agree to disagree. And I think that that is a very sophisticated way of handling any kind of discussion. You may have your opinion, I may have my opinion. Let's part on a friendly note. Let us agree to disagree. In political circles, Vyavahara circles, this may be okay. Advaita cannot have this kind of even fineness of variation. And because of that, we come to a point wherein we end up saying or misinterpreting the statement that there are various paths leading to the same goal. And there is a lot of commonality in whatever we believe in. You also have some value system, you also have some kind of controlling yourself, you also try pursuing your path. So there is a lot of similarity. It is like saying that you are also a car driver, I am also a car driver. Your car has four wheels, it has a steering, it has an engine, and it has different kinds of gasoline. But what matters is what is the destination that you and I are reaching. That is when there is a similarity. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. But the sat definition cannot be different. The sat is the same, and that can be looked into from different perspectives. But if the sat itself is defined wrong, where we reach, if it is not the same common, then the path taken, however the commonality be, path taken cannot be considered as same to same. If I go north from here, I will reach Vijayawada. If I go south from here, eventually I have to reach Kanyakumari. But if the commonality is drawn based on what we are driving and we stop at it, then we are not pursuing it completely, full heartedly, because the goal matters. It is common only if that Sat is that common point. This in itself is a big discussion. I will stop here on that. Now, through this basic text of Atmabodha, what is Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji trying to convey? Whenever there is a title given to a work, it is not an arbitrary title. Any namakarana that is done, it was never arbitrary, at least in our sampradaya, in our culture. It meant something. When Bhagavan Krishna was named Krishna, it was not primarily because he was dark in color, but Krishna is the root word for akarshana. He looked that attractive. spellbound was the onlooker that he couldn't take his eyes off. So the quality of that individual is indicated through the name. Similarly, the work that is written, Bhagavan Adi Sankaracharya ji named it as Atmabodha. Atma means that which is our very nature, Swarupa. And the Swarupa is Chaitanya or awareness, knowledge. What does Bodha mean? Bodha also means to be aware of, knowledge of. So in quick meaning, what does this Atmabodha mean? Knowledge of knowledge. बड़ा विचित्र है. If my own nature is knowledge, then why do I require? I'm already it. Then why do I require this knowledge of that knowledge? How beautifully named. The very title itself is revealing and deserves an in-depth analysis. Knowledge of knowledge. Whenever we perceive the world around, the perception of the world happens through our organs of perception. Sitting here, we can hear the vehicles honking. So the ears hear that sound, and through that sound we perceive that there is some kind of a sound, and it appears to be something like a vehicular traffic, and it is making the sound. Through the ears, we perceive it. So internally, how does this happen? Whenever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, Panchajnanendriyas, through these Panchajnanendriyas, whenever I am receiving data, knowledge is going in, this perceived data is pervaded by this awareness which gets enlivened. The awareness, that which I am, pervades that particular data, and that data becomes that we are aware of that. Whatever is the thought that which we gather, because all the gathering happens in the format of thought. This thought has to be enlivened by that Chaitanya for it to be understood as that Vastu. What am I holding in my hand? A mobile phone. Please put it on mute. So as soon as I picked this and asked you the question, you immediately recognized it as a mobile phone. That you saw the Vastu, and that Vastu, the analog format of it was digitized by our eyes, and it went into our thought process, and that thought process was enveloped and permeated by the Chaitanya Tattva, the awareness from within. Then that aspect of data got enlivened, enlightened. Vastu Jnana happened. That is how I perceive. If this aspect is understood, then we go into Atmabodha. I am already that Chaitanya, but am I aware of it? Do I exist and behave like that Chaitanya Tattva? Most of us, or all of us, we do not function from that awareful aspect. Wherever the awareness has enlivened and we are identified with, that is where we behave and act from. Therefore, whenever somebody asks us, who are you? We end up saying wherever we are identified from. When I say I am this, I am usually talking about a combination of few things. I am this physical aspect, named such and such, with certain attributes, positive, negative, all those attributes put together, the emotional being. And the funniest thing is, however dumb we are, we would like to claim ourselves as the smartest, the most sharp, intelligent being. However sharp be the sharpness. Added to this, all the various pasts that I have. When somebody gives us a visiting card, along with the name, there is a little title added. A doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. I am so and so, BA, LLB. In Vedantic circles, BA, LLB, the LLB stands for a different utility. They belong to a group of MBBS. What does MBBS stand? Members of Backbench Society. And who is an LLB? Lord of the Last Bench, the most mischievous fellow. No, LLB doesn't stand for that. But when you look at that title that they carry, what does it say? All my accumulated experiences of the past training, the key word here being of my past experiences, reflects into who I am today. Along with that, I have a projected future, a direction which I am trying to take. All of this put together is me. That is where my identification stands. That is the worth that I carry of myself. Because I find artha, the meaning in it. Whenever that which I am identifying with doesn't feel like having meaningfulness, then I feel hopeless, nirartha. Meaning I function from that place where all the accumulated data, the identification because of the awareness, wherever I exist and persist from, that is where I function from. Isn't that true? Isn't that the experience? But in all of this, are we functioning from the standpoint of being that most intimate definition, which is Atma, the I, the self? Are we functioning awarefully from that particular perspective? Because the rest of it are attributes. What does attribute mean? Guna. That which can be gained, that which can be lost, that which can be regained. That is not the nature. Nature is the most intrinsic and the most intimate. But we don't function from there. And our rishis have tried analyzing it. Why do I not if I am already it? And the Swarupa Lakshana that has been defined, that its very nature is of the nature of Ananda. Strange, right? That if the nature itself is of the nature of Ananda, the Swarupa Lakshana is Ananda, why am I still going out into the world of Vyavahara in search of that which I already am? If I am already Ananda, supposing I call out, Subbarao Garu, please stand up. Who will stand up? If Subbarao Garu is not there, his wife is there, she will get up and say, Aina Raledandi, he is not here. She is identified with that name, right? The rest of us will not. Because we are not it. If I am Ananda, why am I not behaving like one? Because I am not identified with it. I am not identified because I am not aware of it. Therefore, it is necessary to train the mind, the vritti jnana, which I just said, the vritti jnana of mobile phone, as soon as it was identified with and enlivened by the Chaitanya, I became aware of it. The vritti jnana is shunya with respect to my own self. Therefore, the necessity of Atmabodha, the knowledge of knowledge, the knowledge of the self, which is of the nature of knowledge. So, in this particular text, we have about 68 shlokas in a very pleasing, easy meter, chanda, anushtup chanda. And the beauty of this is that he meaning Bhagavan Adi Sankaracharya ji, tries to bring this knowledge and wisdom through various examples. And many of us, when we talk of very subtle concepts in Vedanta, we find ourselves referring to these examples quite often. So really a support text which supports to build the edifice in our understanding to grasp the subtlety of Vedantic concept. I think I have delved enough into the introduction. Let us get into the text as such. Do you all have the book? Because it will be a read and repeat. Tapobhiḥ kṣīṇapāpānāṃ śāntānāṃ vītarāgiṇām mumukṣūṇāmapekṣyo'yamātmabodho vidhīyate. The first shloka often is a multi-layered expression. It is a Mangalacharana. It is also that which establishes the four kinds of what is the subject, who is it that has to study the subject, and what is the result of it, and the description of that result. Sambandha Chatushtaya it is called. And it is also a Mangalacharana, an auspicious beginning. Whenever in our way of life we begin something, however silly the work may be, we say that we should start with the name of Bhagavan. We should start with the smarana of Bhagavan. Even things like when people sit down to do Antyakshari, they say लेकर प्रभु का नाम. तो शुरुआत जो है प्रभु का नाम से होना चाहिए. That the first thing that we do is probably Ganesha Puja. That in the northern Indian vocabulary in Hindi, they don't say कि have you started this. It is almost synonymous when they say आपने श्री गणेश किया क्या. श्री गणेश करना मतलब to start something with the smarana of Bhagavan. That is the Mangalacharana. So here, without indicating much, only as a pointer, he talks about the third aspect, which is called sadhana chatushtaya. First group of 4 was called sambandha chatushtaya or the anubandha chatushtaya. The second chatushtaya is sadhana chatushtaya. For knowing more detailed into the sadhana chatushtaya, one has to go through tapobhiḥ. Elaborately he talks about it. That who is qualified for this knowledge and pursuit of this knowledge? No Tom, Dick and Harry can just pick up a book and say, now I am qualified. For even basic things in Vyavahara, we look for qualification. The first time parent is quite agitated. Ayyo pillavat tintalledu. The child is not eating. By the time the parent is graduated to the second one, they already have good experience with the first experiment called the elder child. By the time it is the second child, they say, if that fellow is really hungry, he will come. Where will he go? She is not agitated anymore. Why? She now knows the basic fact of life. What is the adhikara for food? Hunger. And if that little fellow is not coming back for food, that means he has his eyes and hands on something else which he is munching on. She has that wisdom now. That if there is that adhikaratva, they will yearn for it. They will search for it. Right? The adhikara for food is hunger. That is why the one who is hungry is called mumukṣū. The one who is eager to eat. Bhuk, to eat. The one who is eager to find his own true nature is called mumukṣū. But there has to be an adhikari. Supposing you have to get your daughter wedding, daughter get married. One fine day when you wake up, you think, I have to get this done. So you walk out of the house, any Tom, Dick and Harry passing by in front of your house, they said, "Aa jao, meri beti se shaadi karke le jao. Come marry." No. What all things that we investigate into, and what are we investigating for? Adhikari. Even for the Vyavahara, when we are searching for adhikaritva, do you think this subtle knowledge doesn't require an adhikari? Tapobhiḥ kṣīṇapāpānāṃ. Who is deserving this knowledge, tapobhiḥ, meaning the one who is already endowed with the practice of tapas. And what does tapas do? kṣīṇapāpānāṃ. All this tapas is not for just doing the tapas. The tapas is done so that the obstacles that stop us from acquiring this knowledge, wisdom and awareness are weeded out. Anything that stops us from this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana is a papa. And to remove that is the tapas. Supposing I am coughing and that is disturbing me from focusing. Then I put myself through the tapas of putting a little cough droplet called a ginger infused medicine. That ginger is quite strong and the throat has to go through the tapas to remove the obstacle called cough. As simple as this is not the simplicity of tapas. To be here at 6:30 from wherever we come, we have to be awake way back then, get ready, and you also have other responsibilities at home to make sure that they do not complain my absence. Prep and get ready for all of that to be at their fingertips. Savere, you're going. What about my breakfast? What about my coffee, tea? Ready on the table. But it'll be cold. It is in a hot bag. Tapas. So that I can be here. Swami, aapke to balle balle. You just have to step out from there to here. No. Had to make sure that all these chairs were arranged. Yesterday night itself, along with few people, we did that tapas for you. To make sure that I can sit comfortably and be able to deliver this. This was acquired, arranged, tapas was done. Then yesterday night, sit down and do this, tapas was done. Tapobhiḥ. Tapas is a necessity. In that tapas, it includes the first step, viveka. To have the ability to discriminate what? From that which is required and that which is not required. That which is absolutely right and that which is no, not wrong. Easy. Because our mind loves to flow to the least path of resistance as though it thinks that the mind is electrified, like electricity. Because electricity also passes wherever there is least resistance. And our mind picks to choose. Among the choices, we know what is right. Janami dharmam, nacha me pravritti. Janami adharmam, nacha me nivritti. We know, we are aware. But to discriminate and choose that which is right over the easy, that is called viveka. A speciality of the buddhi. The buddhi has to be sharp, alert and vigilant, as Gurudev used to say. Now, wherever this viveka is applied in its absolute sense, it has to result in dispassion, vairagya, towards that which was always easy, but not right. To give that up, it takes a lot of strength and courage. Where do I get this? Can I order it on Blinkit? 10-minute delivery and done? Nah. Vairagya is directly proportional to the depth of viveka that we carry. If vairagya is absent, it naturally is an indicator for absence of viveka in application. So nobody can complain saying, I don't know why, I am being so lethargic. I don't know why. It all indicates to one singular point. And what is that? My viveka foundation is not strong. Wherever viveka is strong and well-founded, it results into vairagya. Vairagya does not mean closing your eyes, closing your ears and closing your mouth. Those three monkeys. Vairagya is to be unaffected even in its presence, that which should have distracted. The presence or absence of it does not agitate me from within. Like a child who has outgrown his toys, that to which he or she was attached to, that they wouldn't even share it with someone. So whenever there was a family gathering or a get-together that several other families would come, the most insecure fellow is that child, because the families come with their own children and their drishti is always towards my toys. They would start using my toys. So whichever toy that fellow who has come touches, that becomes my favorite toy. Attachment speaks in different languages. But outgrown from it, when then a child comes, you would sit down with that child, give that very toy that you are attached to, and encourage that little fellow to play around with it. You are not bothered. You are not disturbed because of it. Its presence or absence does not create even a ripple in our head. That is called vairagya. And that is the reflection of the depth of viveka that we stand in. Viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shatka sampatti. What is shamadhi, shatka sampatti? Shama, dama, uparama, titiksha, shraddha, samadhanam. Shama, the control of mind. Dama, the control of the sense organs. Shama, dama. Uparama. Uparama means Rama is to revel. Uparama closest to that goal, that which I have. And that which is stopping me from it, I naturally incline to withdraw from it. Therefore, that withdrawal is called Uparama. The next one is my favorite. Titiksha. Titiksha means what? Forbearance, endurance. Whenever we have to endure something, you should see that fellow's face. It will go through Ashtavakra. That is not called titiksha. To be able to go through that which is unavoidable and have to endure through with a smile, with an art to mend my ways to accommodate that. That is called titiksha. Long time ago, I was in a Balavihar camp. This was in, I think, in Miami or Tampa, one of these places. So in the evening, there was, in the satsang hall, the kids were sitting in the front. The volunteers were supposed to do bhajans, and I was always the MBBS. So I was sitting in the backbench society, and the children were there. See, when you are dealing with that particular age group where they are very restless, and you want to encourage them to participate in bhajans, it has to be engaging and fast. This Amma, a very good singer that was brought in, she starts first fiddling with her harmonium, and once that is tuned, then she starts Shri Rama 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 Shri Rama 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 Prema Mudita Man Se Kaho. Second sentence, the kids were already lost. This fellow was pinching that fellow was pulling this fellow's hair. There was one kid who was sitting right in front of me. He had one foot over his thigh and he was busy with something. He was not least perturbed with the environment. What he had done is, from the carpet, he had meticulously pulled out a thread, nicely twined it, and he would run that twined thread on his foot. He would tickle himself. And every so often, he would be amusing himself. In my head, the volunteer was going to say, "Pay attention." I said, "Don't disturb him. He is reveling in his stress management technique." That is called titiksha, wherein he is not enduring out of pain, then it becomes suppression. He has found a method to enjoy through this moment. And not that he was not paying attention. Next time around, when she started Sri Rama Rama Ram, he turns to his friend and says, "This goes on and on and on, on and on and on." To go through that kind of a suppressed environment, knowing that it is unavoidable, बेचारा भाग नहीं सकता था कहीं. In the back, there were two doors. In the back, we were sitting. In the front, the volunteers were sitting. जाऊं तो जाए कहाँ? So he knew it was unavoidable. So titiksha. Shraddha, another important component. Having firm faith in the following four. In Bhagwan, in the scriptures that describe that Bhagwan, in the Guru that is making that concept of the scripture for me to understand in a language that I can understand, assimilate, and appreciate. And finally, in myself, that whatever I am listening to is definitely a possibility for me to try and apply. 80-90% of us will get up after the satsang and say, बहुत अच्छा था, पर it was good. But all these things can be applied by people like the speaker, not for us. अपन लोगों के लिए नहीं है. Meaning Shraddha in or faith in one's own self. Shraddha is that rare faculty wherein four aspects have to be intertwined in Bhagwan, in scripture, in Guru, and Atmavishwasa. So that I can understand, assimilate, and put it into action. Any one of these factors missing, Shraddha is absent. I have one. I believe in Bhagwan. What about the rest? Absence of Shraddha. I may be synonymously using it for various other purposes, the word Shraddha. But it is a very technical word which indicates that the faith has to be complete in all these four aspects. And that is when the aspect of what is being taught can be grasped by our intellect. Here I would like to indicate on one particular aspect and that's where I'll stop. It doesn't mean that there is a dogma that we have to just blindly believe whatever is being said. Our way of life has weeded out that by placing this element of Shraddha as an important quality for a sadhaka, a tapaswin to have. Shraddha means that you can question but not carry doubt. There's a huge difference between these two words, which we in our Indian vocabulary use as synonyms. They are not synonyms. Questioning is, I do believe in whatever you are saying. Certain aspects of what you are presenting, I am not very clear in understanding it holistically. Therefore, I have these questions and I intend to have clarity on that. Doubt is, I do not believe even a word of what you are saying or what you are pointing at. Do you understand the difference? And what did we say whenever we come into this platform of Vedanta? Pariprashnena sevaya. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Ask until it gets clarified. To have questions is not your fault. To leave those questions in your mind, it has been the responsibility of the teacher to make sure that whatever is explained in such comprehensive way that there is no question left in your mind. Thereby what happens? It is not a dictum which is thrown upon us, but it is an evolution of the individual to that subtlety of understanding. And once we reach to that subtlety of understanding, there is a quietude within, a collectedness within, that I am not scattered all over the place. There is that collectedness. That is called samyak adhanam, samadhanam. That there is a sense of balance, there is a sense of quietude. And And with this tapas, then enter into the field, the threshold of Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasa. That is when Vedantic wisdom will reveal itself in our understanding. Tapobhiḥ kṣīṇapāpānāṃ. We will continue the rest tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.